Thank you all for signing petitions, making noise, being loud. Debbie Washington Schultz can only be as corrupt as we let her be. The DNC can only be as corrupt as we let it be. We hold the power here. And they are learning that fact this year. What else do I got? This is beautiful. This is from Imager. And these are just ballot results. These are Hawaii ballot results. All right? So that's District 4, 302 for Bernie, 74 for Hillary. There's another one. 334, 62. It's another one. 156, 18. It's another one. 332, 36. Yeah. Oh, hang on, Scott. Go ahead, now they can hear you. Say that again.
I saw those images early in the night. What happened with the Hawaii count? It went on and on and on. 3:30 in the morning before I could submit my story.
I know. We were supposed to have results at 10 p.m. my time, I thought. And 10 or 11 my time. I stayed up. Where the goddamn was the night here? 1 a.m.? And then you're saying they didn't show up till what? Well, I guess it was 1 a.m.
3:30 my time.
3:30 your time. I don't know why. So I've seen lots of reports, and these were validated reports of people actually throwing away ballots. I've seen reports of people being turned away at ballot places in Hawaii. It sounds like they had a clusterfuck. So they had so many people turn out that they had problems. So maybe that was why. I don't know. Seems like it's not that big of a place. Seems like you'd be able to get that shit together. It's not like Arizona. I mean, Jesus, I don't know. Scott, that was all the fun I wanted to show. We can look at Nate Silver's numbers and stuff. What's your take on all this? I know you didn't get your article submitted. We don't have it, but tell us.
It was a big night. There's definitely progress. One of the things, I just read a post from someone in Washington who explained that there's actually 3 tiers in Washington to allocating the delegates. And so only 30-something of them were allocated last night. Another 30-something is allocated at a county level, and another 30-something is located at a congressional district level meetings. And so it'll be till July before we know the full breakdown.
So everybody understand what Scott just said, because this is huge. Because I didn't know this. And is it just Washington, or is it across the board?
There's different ways to choose delegates in every state.
Okay. So
and actually, the delegate count that's out there now is a prediction.
Right. Thank you.
They predict it every time. There's no official number of how many delegates will be at the National Convention.
This is huge. Everybody, is it like a light bulb just goes off in your head? Why do we see so many different numbers all over the place? CNN reports one number, Politico another number, Nate's got another number, we've got another number. You know why? It's because they're all predictions, because none of them can be 100% accurate. They can all just be within a probably large margin of error at this point because of the different ways states choose delegates. Scott's telling us that they have this whole 3-tier process in Washington alone, right? So who the fuck knows? We're just kidding. Here, let me show you guys what Scott. Let me show you Nate's. What Scott can tell us more about it. I want to show you Nate Silver's his apparent numbers here. So here's what Nate says we are at right now. Now these have changed from where they were before. Hillary Clinton was higher than this. She's currently at 107% of goal, but that's dropped down from some other number. Bernie Sanders used to be at 86% of goal. He's now, according to Nate, he's at 91% of target delegates. Is the number of delegates you need to win the nomination in July, right? July?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're looking all the way to July, folks. Remember, they can talk all they want about Bernie Sanders leaving the race, but that's why it's a race. It's not over in 2 weeks. This is the whole season here, and we just came back. big time, right? But we can't tell you just how much because these are all predictions. So
yeah, they talk about it on the Republican side. One of the plans to stop Trump is they're going to change the rules and allow the delegates to not vote the way they're pledged on the first ballot. That's one of I don't know if they'll succeed, but that's one thing they're going to try is to change the rules and allow Trump delegates to vote for somebody else on the first ballot.
That's crazy. So I just pulled up the numbers right here. I mean, he's at 96% of target or whatever that means for them, Trump. So they just changed the rules. Do you think they would do that with us?
Well, they could.
They could, couldn't they? The DNC could try to change the rules, and that would probably cause a real old revolution around here. So, according to Nate, I just want to get this over with, then we'll go back to Scott and talking about where we're headed and stuff. Nate,
I think we should try to change the rules.
I agree. Let's talk about that. But Nate says 1261 pledged delegates for Hillary Clinton and 1,031 pledged delegates for Bernie Sanders, which leaves you with a deficit that's less than the deficit we had before. Okay? Just to be clear with all establishment media entities, you can't now say Hillary is pulling away or Hillary is leading or Hillary gained yesterday, because Hillary did not gain yesterday over Bernie Sanders in the race. Just want to make sure we're all clear on that. I know establishment media's had a hard time understanding that. So, all right, now, Scott, what you just said something that I love, because I know that you are the conservative revolutionary. Not really. No, this guy goes out and gets arrested, folks. He's not conservative at all. He just understands how the game is played. Tell me what you think we should do to change the world.
Well, I think there are going to be a lot of Sanders delegates, win or lose, at the convention. So things have to have, like, they got to accept the rules. They got to, usually it's rubber stamped to the chair. The convention is, there's things that could turn into floor fights.
Seriously?
At the convention. Like, when they ask for unanimous consent that Debbie Wasserman Schultz be the chair of the convention, there could be an objection.
A few? You think there could be an objection? There could be. That's awesome. So,
and it's the same things like the platform. I think the one thing that Sanders delegates should be fighting for is to take the corporate reps off the platform committee. I remember when I worked on Jerry Brown's campaign, the list of representatives on the platform committee, there was tons of different representatives of different corporations, and that's something that we should fight against at the convention, whoever are Sanders delegates. And
I agree. Listen, you're explaining stuff to me I don't even understand. You're talking about committees and different people in power, this whole convention, and what you're making it sound to me, from a very ignorant person's view, is that we have all sorts of powers that arrive at the convention because here are all the people, and like if we have Sanders delegates and Hillary delegates, we can start negotiating and stuff. Or
I think there's definitely allies in the Clinton camp of delegates that you could get some of this done, like to get corporations off the platform committee. There's a lot of labor on Hillary's side right now. You could get those delegates to support a move like that. So
okay.
There are things that could be done that without having the majority of delegates there, because you can get some support from the Hillary side, from some factions of the Hillary side.
That's good news. And so knowing this, which I didn't know before, this now makes me feel a lot better when I hear Bernie or Jeff or any of the campaign people say, we're taking this all the way.
Yeah.
Because they understand this strategy. They know, well, we've got some shit we can do once we get there, folks. Right? That's basically what we're saying. We, like me, I come to you, Scott. It's like this. This is totally. This is, everybody's Scott's so great. This is what's happened. Like he's been involved with this for a long time. There's lots of people that have been involved with this for a long time, and we're lucky to have some of them here on Bernie 2016 TV, politicalrevolution.tv, and helping Bernie Sanders. But all of us new people to this stuff. Me and I don't know how many of you out there. We got 150 plus watching the audience. Those of you who are like me, who are just learning this stuff, who are like, what is all this crap that has to do with our democracy that we weren't aware of? We hear this happened, and we take it like a 5-year-old would, or like a puppy would. Bad.
Well, none of it's easy. It's
right.
It's still the Clinton campaign is still going to be sending down to all their delegates, vote this way, vote this way, vote this.
Sure.
You just got to peel some of them off.
Exactly, but the point is, it's way more complicated than we think, and there's way more maneuvering that can be done, and that's. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's good. It's just the way the game is currently, and
it's the same on the local level, and that's one of the areas where progressives should be doing a lot better. Is progressives don't get active in the party at the local level. They just point. The Democrats do this. Democrats do that. They could be the Democrats that are doing it if they go to local meetings.
There you go. Which is what Bernie's been saying all along. If you don't like what that Democrat's doing, run against them. Take their office. Okay.
Show up at the meeting. But there's the local county committees that do a lot of stuff. You could be on that committee if you go to the meetings. You could be on the local committees.
So there's a lot of different levels of government. I was just let's just talk about that really quick. I was just seeing, when this comes around, you start to see the signs show up in the yard, right? Vote for this guy for sheriff, and this guy for county commissioner, and this guy for the water dude, and whatever the other things are. Those, what you're talking about are like not even those. You're talking about just taking a part in whatever commissions there are, saying I want to be one of the persons that has something to say about this, right? And it's go ahead.
Every county, they have county Democratic Party meetings, and you could be going to those meetings and get elected officials within the Democratic Party, and I can't say that I do it, so I'm hypocritical and
I don't even know it existed. But the point is, this is within the Democratic Party. We're changing the DNC. It's like if we don't like the corruption within the DNC, show up at the meetings and depose all the people at the meetings, right? And the only reason it is the way it is because the people that sit there now have realized this before. They're like, guys, look, we can totally own this space. We just got to show up. Nobody else is here. Just show up. Yeah, that's why they're there. It's like, show up. If we want to turn the water blue, and if we want to sell our stuff to Africa or do whatever the fuck we want, we just show up here and vote, guys.
I went to some Obama for America meetings in Miami right after the election in early 2009, and the Miami Democratic Party couldn't get anything done because they never had a quorum at their meetings, and so nothing would get done. It would have been easy to take over the Miami Democrat. I don't know what the situation is now, but back at that time, they couldn't get anything accomplished because there wasn't enough people at the meetings to pass anything by their law, by their rules.
This is how bad people come in. This is how it's us. It's us not taking part in our democracy. Literally what Scott's saying, folks, is if we just go take part in the democracy, we can change a lot of this stuff at the ground level. Change it at the ground level, and it will go to the big level eventually. That's what's happening here, So where do we go? Talk about the protests in Arizona. There's a protest in Arizona tomorrow. You heard anything about this?
I haven't.
Okay. I'm gonna take 1 second, Scott, and just go through some of the questions and say hi to everybody, and then we'll come back and look at some other stuff. Let's see. Scroll up here, and what do we got? The Easter Bernie game saw and conquered. That's awesome. The Easter Bernie. I like that. It's almost here. It's almost better to keep the superdelegates in now. It makes some Clinton supporters complacent that she's going to win no matter what. Oh, that's a good point. Just leave them in there. Let them think it's okay. Let them think it's okay until that massive chunk flies over to Bernie Sanders in July because they want to keep their jobs.
That's the only problem with that is that it gets to the point where, especially when it gets close to the total that she could win, it makes people give up when they see she's over the top.
Yeah, it could be, but I'm hoping at this point we've fixed that. I'm like, we just won. Like everybody here.
My roommate yesterday, he kept giving the 1,700 number, and I kept saying, no, that's what super delegate.
Right.
That counts super delegate. He said, I didn't know that. Let's see. And that most people don't know that.
Share the truth, folks. The superdelegates aren't counted yet for Bernie or for Hillary. Okay, there's pledged delegates. Period.
Like yesterday, one CNN reporter said it's going to take Bernie has to win 75% of the rest of the delegates to overcome Hillary's delegate lead. It's just completely false. But people hear that and they say, "Oh, it's over. He can't."
58%.
What's that?
58% was the number I know.
Yeah.
58%. Bernie needs to win 58% of the remaining delegates. But after what we just did, that number may be smaller. That number is irrelevant, folks. All that matters is that we win as much as we can. All right? We need to have more than Hillary at the end of the game. And according to Scott,
when people hear 75%, they think, "Oh, it's over," so they give up. And
this leads into. We're talking about this. This leads into Edward R. Murrow and integrity in media, because the news used to actually be the truth, and today it's a narrative that fits what the government wants, and that's why we're dealing with this. That's why Scott's doing this. Like, if it confuses Scott's friend, and it confuses me, and it confuses everybody else. I saw somebody in Twitter say, what if Alaska, Hawaii, and Washington had gone first? Where would the media be with their narrative right now?
Yeah, I've been saying that in a lot of articles. If the calendar was the opposite, the media right now would be talking about how Hillary has to catch Bernie.
Right. And what's Bernie going to do to woo over the southern states when we get to them later on in the season? Yeah. Right? If everything was flopped, folks, I don't know what they do. I honestly don't know what they do, because they wouldn't push the narrative. They don't want him in office. So even when they have to say he's won, they don't, really. Bernie Sanders, you can see Wolf Blitzer, Bernie Sanders wins 3 states, devastating win for Bernie Sanders' campaign. They just can't. It's ridiculous. Hey, whose birthday is it? The Sundance Spirit. Your birthday was yesterday, and Bernie won by a landslide. Awesome. Happy Easter. Hi, Pre-Med 1981. Hi, Pre-Med. Nice to have you here. You're new here. We're all new here. Ted McNally. How many delegates overall? Like, how many? What's the grand total? 2,400 something or another. It's, hang on. Nate Silver usually says it up here. Scott, do you know what the grand total number is?
No, but there's over 2,000 to go.
Yeah, it's more than 2,000 to go. There's more than enough delegates to win. Okay, so anybody pushing the narrative that Hillary's already won too many delegates for Bernie to catch up, that's bullshit. That's absolute bullshit. Anyone who became
still an uphill battle. Polling is not good in New York and Pennsylvania and other places. There's time to change that, but there's definitely a long way to go. Absolutely.
Judy, I don't know if I got your message yet. I'll take a look. I've played several Kennedy speeches, and I'm sure that's a good one. We'll grab it. We're going to run some more today. Date, time, Monday, March 28th, 10 a.m., House of Representatives building. What's going on there? Oh, is that this must be the Arizona protest, voter suppression. Well, if we can get Nico Nolan out there to report for us, we can bring that to you, folks. I'd love to do that. That would be great. You know? So, Scott, is there anything else you want to tell people about this? Anything else we should know about the number?
Don't get complacent on Wisconsin. I saw John Nichols on MSNBC yesterday, and he was saying that a lot of people oversimplify Wisconsin a lot and think there's a lot of progressives in Madison. It's easy for progressives to win in Wisconsin. But he said that it's a state where there are Democrats all over the state with different demographics, and that he said that both Hillary and Bernie have long ties to Wisconsin even before they started running, and it's going to be a dogfight. That's what he said about Wisconsin.
Agreed. Bernie's heading out there. I wish I could have done a broadcast yesterday. I will do whatever we can today, folks. I just want to show you this. This is Nate Silver and what he's saying about Bernie and the next contest, which is April 5th. This is Wisconsin. And if you read it right here, Sanders will need, let's see, the 86 delegates will be at stake. Sanders' target is 48 delegates. That's his target to stay on track. We need more than that, folks. We need more than that. Getting 48 is not enough. We need more than that. And here's what he says about Hillary Clinton. 86 delegates at stake. Her target is 38 delegates. So that's where we stand. When we look at these races, look at them state by state. Ignore establishment media bullshit. This is where we sit. We need as many as we can. You can see the little track line down there. We're below target, but we've gained. We're now less than 10 points below target, and that's what we need, folks. We've got a long way to go here. This is a battle. It's a marathon. It is not a sprint. What else? I dropped I dropped some other links in there, guys, that are links to just resources, like Democratic delegate count from Real Clear Politics. It just shows the numbers straight and plain, no bullshit. You can do your own calculations. Remember, these are all predictions because of the way that, and not I guess all, but Scott's saying there's a lot of variance here. So even Nate Silver's numbers are just an estimation. All of the numbers coming out right now are estimations because these will change. And when we get to the big convention, Scott's saying there's opportunity there for all sorts of shit to go down because there are Bernie supporters within the Hillary camp of delegates. And
I don't know if there's Bernie supporters there, but there's supporters on some of the issues. Like there's labor supporters in Hillary's camp that you could sway on an anti-corporate plank.
Okay, I get it. All right, and so
on Wisconsin, the polls are kind of a mixed bag. There was one in February by Marquette that had Bernie up 1 point, and there's one more recent poll that has Hillary up 50 to 44 with 5% undecided. So it's neck and neck right now.
All right, so we need to get out the vote big time in Wisconsin. All right, it's not a done deal, and we need to do better than our delegate count, according to Nate, folks. We need to keep closing that gap. We have to close the gap. We're behind.
Yeah.
Right? I don't care what this guy says about Bernie winning the race. He's supposing some shit. We're behind. Straight, simple in the numbers. That's all. Just got to catch up, and we can, and we are. We just did. We just caught up. We gained about a fifth yesterday, 22% approximately. But we've got a long way to go. We're 80% down. All right. I want to go over a few other things in the news. This is also something we have to concern ourselves about, and this is exactly why they did this. When the DNC repealed that the Obama rule allowing them to take in super PAC money, it basically helped them fund their shill. So this is, Hillary has money. Here's what it comes down to for super delegates, and this is a message for super delegates. So if anybody wants to take this clip out right now, remember, guys, all of the newsroom Share this. Make segments out of it. Take it, blast them out. Share these pieces of truth. Take the articles that are in the description, blast them out through social. This is how we win the war of information. This is a war of information against the establishment propaganda machine. Our weapon is the truth, and our arena, our battlefront, is social. This is where we are. We're either in social or we're on the front lines, boots on the ground, telling people, testifying, delivering the truth. And we don't have access to the private channels that everybody has been used to for decades. We don't have access to mainstream media channels. So we have to work here. We have to push this message. Here's my message to the establishment superdelegates. You have a choice this year. You can choose the money that Hillary is offering you and loyalty, or you can choose integrity and side with the people. If you side with the people, you're going to keep your job. If you side with the establishment and the money you think you're going to get from Hillary, you will lose your job. We will eventually remove you from power, and you will not be in office. That's how it works. That's what we're doing. It's called democracy. You haven't seen it in a long time. We haven't been involved in a long time. Now we are. So you make a choice. Choose wisely. The people or the establishment. Money or integrity. Loyalty or integrity. We will reward integrity. You choose. That's my message to the establishment superdelegates. How about some fun stuff? I thought this was hilarious. New Webster Dictionary word. This is from Bill Kimbrello. Hillary. Being repeatedly deceived or lied to without noticing it until it's too late. Hillary. We've all been Hillary, folks. This was fantastic. Oh, you can't see the top. Hang on, let me recrop this. I know this has to be Chris Hardwick and At Midnight, but I thought it was beautiful. Trump tribute bands. Some pretty terrible stuff in here. Oh, and at the top of this, not a Trump tribute band, but 25,000 people sign a petition to allow guns at the Republican National Convention. I was kind of... Go ahead.
I feel kind of bad about my initial reaction.
Which was good. a little bit of thinning of the herd, just natural selection, just... My problem with that is collateral damage. I have a feeling most of them aren't good shots. You have a bunch of innocent people just getting out for no reason. But yeah, I think all the idiots that want to bring their stupid guns to a goddamn convention should just shoot each other. Okay? Just, please. I realize brotherly love, and I just did a thing on restorative justice. So I realize it's a little bit hypocritical, but I'm with you there, Scott. Just blows my mind. So yeah, what else? What else in this Trump tribute band? Let's look at this again real quick. There were some really, really good ones, and now I'm not going to be able to find them because it moved beyond. Here we go. Uriah Creep. He-Man Woman Haters. Guns Everywhere and Roses. The Clash. Lil Trump and the East Side Goons. Don's Petty and the Heartbreakers. Big Brother and the Offshore Holding Company. Hair Supply.
That's the best one.
Hair Supply. Art of Noise. Another good one. Those are just good. Hunka Hunka Burnin' Love. That's just wrong right there. Oh. Notorious P.I.G. There you go. I'm going to stop here, and then we're going to do Moron 5. I like that one. Those are great. Trump tribute bands, and just because I still have it loaded, we just gotta. Oh, come on, give me my Trump horn. There it is. I didn't hear. You guys probably couldn't even hear it.
Yeah. I hear you, but I don't hear any of the videos.
Oh, here. I'm a dumbass. Here we go.
Okay.
All right. I had to do that. Yeah. There we go. Trump. All right, everybody. Moving on. That was Trump tribute bands. We're going to get into some serious stuff now. I'm going to talk about Edward R. Murrow. Murrow was a badass. Let me just get back here and see what's going on. Make sure I don't have any problems. Lower third. Yes, lower third. I had lower third going. You guys got some comments going on now. We run through all these already. Start right about here. Thanks for being here, everybody. It's like 200 people here? Holy cow. Are you ready to get into some serious stuff? You ready to learn about real journalism? Or what happened back in the 50s? Military-industrial complex, the rise of the establishment media, the rise of the establishment government, the military-industrial complex gets put in place. Eisenhower warns everybody. Murrow warns everybody. Then they leave. Then we have decades of establishment government, establishment media. It kind of festers and grows as a cancer. And we end up where we are today. So what we're going to talk about is what a real journalist is. And Murrow was one of the best. And I have a lot of respect for him. It's not like I grew up in the era. It's not like I watched his newscasts. What I've seen and read about him and what the parts that I've seen, this guy had the balls and the courage to call out things in an era where you get in big trouble. And the big thing that he's known for is McCarthyism, the Red Scare. And he basically he as a news journalist went against a junior senator, I believe he was from Wisconsin actually, Joseph McCarthy, who went fucking nuts and decided to start calling everybody a goddamn communist. And he incited the Red Scare. And it was ridiculous. We were in a Cold War era, and he just started picking out people. It's very much like Hitler, very much like a Nazi Germany kind of scene, very much like what Trump's doing today, except he had a lot of power back then, and people were really dumb, and they all freaked out. And everybody else was grabbing onto it. Joseph McCarthy, Red Scare, naming this person, naming that person. He went from, well, you'll hear. You'll hear what Murrow has to say, but Murrow took them down. Okay, Murrow put this guy in his place because that's the job of real journalism. The media had a contract with the people. They were supposed to be our check and balance for us as to what the government was doing and whether it was right and wrong. The media was how we discussed together. And we trusted people like Murrow and Cronkite to be honest and true and to deliver to us the news so that we as a people could decide what we needed to do. And instead of doing that, what happened during Murrow's time here in the 50s was that the establishment media was developed and started working with the establishment military-industrial complex to start creating that narrative that was not the truth. And that included the Red Scare. Because what's better for the military-industrial complex than a bunch of people scared shitless and saying, please make more bombs and weapons? All these things are tied together. This was a piece of history that's sad. And a lot of people have forgotten it. But where we are today is far, far worse than we were in Murrow's time. Where we are today is what happens when what Murrow warned us about in 1958 is left unchecked, is left untouched, is left to just grow and fester on its own and rise to the disgusting level of abuse and power it has now. We're going to listen to what Murrow said, Joseph McCarthy, and then we're going to listen to another speech to close the show. It's 11 minutes and 38 seconds, but you need to hear all 11 minutes and 38 seconds. But first, we find the right one here. That's not it. That's not it either. Here it is. We're going to listen to, once I get it framed, we're going to listen to we're going to listen to Edward Murrow. And this is Murrow on McCarthy. No Fear, 1954. This is what real journalism looks like. We don't really have this anymore in our country. We have a few shining examples of it. I would say Cenk Uygur is one of those. Amy Goodman. I don't know. You guys know. It's the journalists with integrity. They don't exist in establishment media. Currently, they're all choosing loyalty over what the people will reward, which is integrity. If Murrow were around today, I have absolutely no doubt he would be feeling the burn.
Earlier, the senator asked, upon what meat does this our Caesar feed? Had he looked 3 lines earlier in Shakespeare's Caesar, he would have found this one, which is not altogether inappropriate. The fault, dear Brutus, is not in our stars, but in ourselves. No one familiar with the history of his country can deny that congressional committees are useful. It is necessary to investigate before legislating. But the line between investigating and persecuting is a very fine one, and the junior senator from Wisconsin has stepped over it repeatedly. His primary achievement has been in confusing the public mind as between the internal and the external threats of communism. We must not confuse dissent with disloyalty. We must remember always that accusation is not proof, and that conviction depends upon evidence and due process of law. We will not walk in fear one of another. We will not be driven by fear into an age of unreason if we dig deep in our history and our doctrine, and remember that we are not descended from fearful men, not from men who feared to write, to speak, to associate, and to defend causes that were for the moment unpopular. This is no time for men who oppose Senator McCarthy's methods to keep silent, or for those who approve. We can deny our heritage and our history, but we cannot escape responsibility for the result. There is no way for a citizen of a republic to abdicate his responsibilities. As a nation, we have come into our full inheritance at a tender age. We proclaim ourselves, as indeed we are, the defenders of freedom wherever it continues to exist in the world. But we cannot defend freedom abroad by deserting it at home. The actions of the junior senator from Wisconsin have caused alarm and dismay amongst our allies abroad and given considerable comfort to our enemies. And whose fault is that? Not really his. He didn't create this situation of fear. He merely exploited it, and rather successfully. Cassius was right. The fault, dear Brutus, is not in our stars, but in ourselves. Good night, and good luck.
That is a real journalist. That's somebody who had the balls to take on the establishment government, the military-industrial complex as it was created. It was new back then. It was strong. It was shining. That's real journalism when you question instead of just comply. McCarthyism went down. This whole thing went down, gone. Era of history that everybody's very embarrassed about for being so stupid, so easily coerced into this fear-based shit. So they decided to take a less direct approach, the government did. Over the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years, it took away most of our rights, made sure that the military-industrial complex was solid. It's been running ever since. It hasn't stopped. Okay? We're gonna listen. Before I move into that, Scott just dropped this wonderful link, and I want to get it. Can we get that dropped into chat, folks? Get that drop in the chat. I'm going to read this, guys. Give me a second. I'm going to pull it. I'm just going to read this to you. Let me pull this up. We'll all read this together. I think it's important because I know this is not going to get out by establishment media. So again, I want you to take this clip or take the newsroom, timestamp it at this, and share it out so that everybody hears this. Okay, and then get this link blasted out so that everybody hears this. Give me 1 second. We're gonna read this together. I think this is important. It's very important. This is a letter from. Give me 1 second. This is a letter from Jeff Weaver to Robbie Moore, who's the campaign manager for Hillary Clinton. If you recall, guys, they had this deal going on. I think we need to go here for some debates. So let's recall. I'm going to switch audio, so Scott, you're not going to be able to be heard here. Okay, let's recall. So here's the letter. Dear Robbie, I'm writing to you about the remaining agreed-upon Democratic Party season debates in April and May of this year. As you know, Secretary Clinton agreed to 3 additional debates, one in March, one in April, one in May. In return for a campaign agreeing to the late-scheduled debate in New Hampshire prior to that state's primary. At Senator Sanders' request, the March debate was held in Michigan. As I understand it, there was previously an agreement reached by our representatives for the May debate to be held in California. I trust that commitment remains on your part. However, there has not been agreement on the April debate in terms of date or location. Our campaign continues to believe that the people of New York, the largest April primary, deserve to have the debate held in their state, and that it should be held prior to the New York primary. And the New York primary is what day, March? What day in April, Scott? I think it is the 19th. 19th is right. Okay. Now, bear in mind, everybody, that New York is one of Hillary's 3 home states, so she should be fine there. Right? Given the outcome of the electoral contest since March 15th, it is clearer than ever that New York will play a critical role in determining the Democratic nominee. However, your campaign has consistently chosen to deny the people of New York the opportunity to see Senator Sanders and Secretary Clinton debate in the Empire State. Why is that? It's your state, Hillary. You did so much for them. It is difficult to understand your motivations. I have received calls from numerous news organizations seeking to sponsor a New York debate, so I know the media interest would be high. Can you please explain why New York should not host the April debate? Is the Secretary concerned about debating before the people who twice elected her to the U.S. Senate? Perhaps there is some tactical advantage you are seeking by avoiding a debate in New York. But I would remind you that Senator Sanders agreed to debate the Secretary in New Hampshire when he was well ahead in the polls. I look forward to hearing from you at your earliest convenience so we can schedule the New York debate in April. Regards, Jeff Weaver. Yeah. Where are you now, Robbie? I get your emails. You're still asking me for $1. Where are your balls? You know, you asked for concessions. You wanted this. You wanted that. It's our turn. Where are you? We're winning. They're scared. That's the truth. We may not be winning by numbers, but that's okay. We've got them scared. That's the truth. We have them scared. I want to make sure I don't have any questions coming up here. What's up, Scott? You have something you want to add to this? Say about this?
Debate.
Which would we be?
Who's from New York?
Yeah.
He sounds like he's from New York. It's going to be hard for her to make a case that she's from New York and not him.
Well, right. And I mean, what is she going to do? Come out there? Hey, she'll probably come out and try to fake a New York accent or say, I just had a good pizza down at whatever. She's probably going to do some bullshit like that, you know. She always does. She's using all the tactics that establishment used to use, right? It's almost like a circus act. Here, what can I do? I can juggle. I can ride a unicycle. What else do you need me to do to win? And we're like, we need you to tell the truth. I don't know how to do that, but I can juggle. You know, I can't tell the truth. Establishment candidates. Remember, we will reward integrity. We will not reward loyalty. Rosario Dawson had the courage, the stones to stand up and say that. Being a part of that, she was within that Hollywood circle of people. And she knows the truth. They're all about loyalty. We're about integrity. Where's your integrity, Robbie Mook? Where's your integrity, Hillary Clinton? You sold it? Figures. So, where are we at for time? 9:53. Not bad. That's not bad at all. I liking that. I want to look and see what you guys are saying for comments, though. 191 plus. Wow. Good to have you here. Okay. Now that I've looked at your comments, let's continue with the Murrow story. Let's continue with this. So, I'm going to play a couple other clips. They're important. This is kind of heavy, but they're important. So understand that after World War II, right, we had Eisenhower come in for president for a while. America had this big boom. All the men came home from war. And the women, who had been doing all the work while the men were gone, were like, yeah, we built these factories, we make cars, we do riveting, we do this, we do that, we make all this shit. Right? And the men were like, well, we're back. We can do that now. And you go back to the house and let's make babies. And we have a big baby boom. That's where the baby boom came from. Right? And America was great. We had just finished 4 wars. And we had this, in order to get through all of these wars, this is what happened. We had to make a factory, an industrial machine to produce weapons of war so that we could win. All right? It's interesting that during World War II, there were no cars manufactured. Like from 1938 on, or some years, like no cars were manufactured. And so you had mostly old cars. It's not 38; it was later than that. But and so it wasn't until the people came home and they shifted development from tanks back to cars that we started making new cars. Right? You had this whole time in the 40s where it was just the same freaking cars. So we had to show, but that doesn't mean that all of the military factories went down. Military people were like, wow, we can make a lot of money this way. Businessmen were like, I opened up a tank store and we sell tanks now and it makes us a lot of money. Right? You had all these things, and the oil industry was like, shit, when there's war, we sell a hell of a lot more oil when there's not war. Every industry was like, we make a lot of money when we have to go to war. And that's where we get to this next piece, which is Eisenhower talking about the military-industrial complex. And this is Eisenhower's farewell speech. He was leaving office, and he didn't say shit about the military-industrial complex until he left office, because he knew he'd probably get assassinated. That's how powerful they had become. You had this group of corporations already controlling the game. You had establishment media, as we will learn, starting to just play along. It was being built. The integrity in media was leaving, and the loyalty to the government was replacing it. And Murrow talks about that. But first, we're going to listen to Eisenhower's famous speech about the military-industrial complex. It's only 2 minutes, 30 seconds. You're going to listen to this, and it's going to scare the shit out of you. It still scares the shit out of me today, because this is reality. This machine is behind the Clintons. This machine is behind Obama. This machine is behind the entire establishment. This machine is what we have to take down to bring about an era of peace for the people. Because that corporate age, most of those corporations, they're war makers. So, here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
Good evening, my fellow Americans. We now stand 10 years past the midpoint of a century that has witnessed 4 major wars among great nations. Until the latest of our world conflicts, the United States had no armaments industry. American makers of plowshares could, with time and as required, make swords as well. But we can no longer risk emergency improvisation of national defense. We have been compelled to create a permanent armaments industry of vast proportions. Added to this, 3.5 million men and women are directly engaged in the defense establishment. Now, this conjunction of an immense military establishment and a large arms industry is new in the American experience. The total influence, economic, political, even spiritual, is felt in every city, every state house, every office of the federal government. We recognize the imperative need for this development, yet we must not fail to comprehend its grave implications. Our toil, resources, and livelihood are all involved. So is the very structure of our society. In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberties or democratic processes. We should take nothing for granted. Only an alert and knowledgeable citizen can compel the proper meshing of the huge industrial and military machinery of defense with our peaceful methods and goals, so that security and liberty may prosper together.
I don't know how much more scary it gets when you hear Eisenhower in 1961, and I saw somebody say it looks like he's looking around like he's paranoid. You bet he was paranoid. He was scared for his fucking life. This is back in an era where the government, the men in the black and white suits, were able to pretty much do what they pleased, and it was all good because it was the government and we were good. Eisenhower's calling out the government for what they're doing at that point in 61. And he basically said, without an alert citizenry to be there, to keep the balance between this massive military machine and our peaceful intentions, the peaceful intentions of the United States, which no longer exist, the people of the United States, us, the 99, we've always had peaceful intentions, but our government stopped having peaceful intentions back then, when they realized that war was so much more profitable. War around the world, regime change around the world, like Tulsi Gabbard says, the cost of war, the true cost of war, she knows. The establishment has no fucking clue. We pay the price. They order out. They cause regime change for their own personal gain and greed. We pay the price with our blood. That is what Eisenhower was warning about. And the media had a responsibility to be a check and balance for us, the people, between the government's actions and our view of what's going on. The media was our window to the truth, and they fucked up and chose loyalty over integrity. And now that we know the truth, thanks to the internet, we are going to remove the establishment media from their positions of power if they choose loyalty over integrity. We will no longer live in fear. We will no longer live as a disinterested citizenry. We have to pay attention. We have to take back control of the truth. And this is why these things tie together. We have a president leaving office warning us of the power of the military-industrial complex. We have a media at the time choosing loyalty to government, power, and money over truth. Damn you all. Every last one of you. You screwed us all with your choice of loyalty and power over integrity in the media. Fuck you all. Decades of death, destruction, lies, of purposefully hiding the truth from the people. None of you are worthy of being journalists. I call out all of you, Wolf Blitzer, Anderson Cooper, Rachel Maddow, any of you, high-paid bobbleheads sitting at your fucking desks, wasting prime time, spewing bullshit. You have no integrity. You are loyal to the establishment, and you will be removed from power. Because we need journalists with integrity. for this peaceful nation to continue and survive. And we're going to listen to what Edward Murrow had to say about that. This is long, but it's absolutely important. I'm going to play 11 minutes and 38 seconds of this. There's no video. This is an address in 1958, and it's to the it's a Radio and Television News Directors Association, because he was a director. At one point he was just so famous, and he calls them all out. Listen to the reaction in the room when he says some of the things he says. You can hear very uncomfortable chuckling, right? Like, is he being sarcastic? Oh, he means that. This is a man with integrity. This is a real journalist. Go get some coffee. Just turn up the volume. Go get coffee. Load a bowl. Get a Danish. Whatever you want to do. Listen to the words and wisdom of Edward R. Murrow that apparently establishment media did not heed and doesn't give a shit about.
This just might do nobody any good. At the end of this discourse, a few people may accuse this reporter of fouling his own comfortable nest, and your organization may be accused of having given hospitality to heretical and even dangerous thoughts. But I am persuaded that the elaborate structure of networks, advertising agencies, and sponsors will not be shaken or altered. It is my desire, if not my duty, to try to talk to you journeymen with some candor about what is happening to radio and television in this generous and capacious land. I have no technical advice or counsel to offer those of you who labor in this vineyard, the one that produces words and pictures. You will, I am sure, forgive me for not telling you that the instruments with which you work are miraculous, that your responsibility is unprecedented, or that your aspirations are frequently frustrated. It is not necessary to remind you of the fact that your voice, amplified to the degree where it reaches from one end of the country to the other, does not confer upon you greater wisdom than when your voice reached only from one end of the bar to the other. All of these things you know. You should also know at the outset that in the manner of witnesses before congressional committees, I appear here voluntarily, by invitation, that I am an employee of the Columbia Broadcasting System, that I am neither an officer nor any longer a director of that corporation, and that these remarks are strictly of a do-it-yourself nature. If what I have to say is responsible, then I alone am responsible for the saying of it. Seeking neither approbation from my employers, nor new sponsors, nor acclaim from the critics of radio and television, I cannot very well be disappointed. Believing that potentially the commercial system of broadcasting as practiced in this country is the best and freest yet devised, I have decided to express my concern about what I believe to be happening to radio and television. These instruments have been good to me beyond my view. There exists in my mind no reasonable grounds for any kind of personal complaint. I have no feud either with my employers, any sponsors, or with the professional critics of radio and television. But I am seized with an abiding fear regarding what these two instruments are doing to our society, our culture, and our heritage. Our history will be what we make it. And if there are any historians about 50 or 100 years from now, and there should be preserved the kinescopes for 1 week of all three networks, they will there find recorded in black and white or perhaps in color evidence of decadence escapism, and insulation from the realities of the world in which we live. I invite your attention to the television schedules of all networks between the hours of 8 and 11 p.m. Eastern Time. Here you will find only fleeting and spasmodic reference to the fact that this nation is in mortal danger. There are, it is true, occasional informative programs presented in that intellectual ghetto on Sunday afternoons. But during the daily peak viewing periods, television in the main insulates us from the realities of the world in which we live. If this state of affairs continues, we may alter an advertising slogan to read, "Look now and pay later." For surely, we shall pay for using this most powerful instrument of communication to insulate the citizenry from the hard and demanding realities which must indeed be faced if we are to survive. And I mean the word survive, quite literally. If there were to be a competition in indifference, or perhaps in insulation from reality, then Nero and his fiddle, Chamberlain and his umbrella, could not find a place on an early afternoon sustaining show. If Hollywood were to run out of Indians, the program schedules would be mangled beyond all recognition. Then perhaps some young and courageous soul with a small budget might do a documentary telling what in fact we have done and are still doing to the Indians in this country. But that would be unpleasant. And we must at all costs shield the sensitive citizen from anything that is unpleasant. I am entirely persuaded that the American public is more reasonable, restrained, and more mature than most of our industry's program planners believe. Their fear of controversy is not warranted by the evidence. I have reason to know, as do many of you, that when the evidence on a controversial subject is fairly and calmly presented, the public recognizes it for what it is, an effort to illuminate rather than to agitate. Several years ago, when we undertook to do a program on Egypt and Israel, well-meaning, experienced, and intelligent friends in the business said, "This you cannot do. This time you will be handed your head. It is an emotion-packed controversy, and there is no room for reason in it." We did the program. Zionist, anti-Zionist, the friends of the Middle East, Egyptian and Israeli officials said with, I must confess, a faint note of surprise, it was a fair count. The information was there. We have no complaints. Our experience was similar with 2 half-hour programs dealing with cigarette smoking and lung cancer. Both the medical profession and the tobacco industry cooperated, but in a rather wary fashion. But in the end of the day, they were both reasonably content. The subject of radioactive fallout and the banning of nuclear tests was and is highly controversial. But according to what little evidence there is, viewers were prepared to listen to both sides with reason and restraint. This is not said to claim any special or unusual competence in the presentation of controversial subjects, but rather to indicate that timidity in these areas is not warranted by the evidence. Recently, network spokesmen have been disposed to complain that the professional critics of television in print have been rather beastly. There have been ill-disguised hints that somehow competition for the advertising dollar has caused the critics in print to gang up on television and radio. This reporter has no desire to defend the critics. They have space in which to do that on their own behalf. But it remains a fact that the newspapers and magazines are the only instruments of mass communication which remain free from sustained and regular critical comment. I would suggest that if the network spokesmen are so anguished about what appears in print, then let them come forth and engage in a little sustained and regular comment regarding newspapers and magazines. It is an ancient and sad fact that most people in network television and radio have an exaggerated regard for what appears in print. And there have been cases where executives have refused to make even private comment on a program for which they are responsible until they had read the reviews in print. This is hardly an exhibition of confidence in their own judgment. The oldest excuse of the networks for their timidity is their youth. Their spokesmen say, "We are young. We have not developed the traditions nor acquired the experience of the older media. If they but knew it, they are building those traditions and creating those precedents every day. Each time they yield to a voice from Washington or any political pressure, each time they eliminate something that might offend some section of the community, they are creating their own body of precedent and tradition, and it will continue to pursue them. They are, in fact, not content to be half-safe." Nowhere is this better illustrated than by the fact that the chairman of the Federal Communications Commission publicly prods broadcasters to engage in their legal right to editorialize. Of course, to undertake an editorial policy, overt, clearly labeled, and obviously unsponsored, requires a station or a network to be responsible. Most stations today probably do not have the manpower to assume this responsibility, but the manpower could be recruited. Editorials, of course, would not be profitable. If they had a cutting edge, they might even offend. It is much easier, much less troublesome, to use this money-making machine of television and radio merely as a conduit, through which to channel anything that will be paid for that is not libelous, obscene, or defamatory. In that way, one has the illusion of power without responsibility.
And that is where we sit today with establishment media. They have an illusion of power without the responsibility. They decided to forget the responsibility. And that is sad. Everything that Murrow has said has come true. And we have a choice to make. We are making that choice. They have a choice to make. The establishment media. They can either choose integrity or continue to choose loyalty. We will reward integrity. What we are doing today, here, now, this year, for the world, for all of us, is taking a stand for the integrity of the American people, for the integrity of human beings. Saying we're tired of the lies. We need to put integrity and truth back into our media, back into our government, back into our lives. Because the crap we're watching, the narrative that they're giving us, is not the truth. And it's not what we want. It's our responsibility to take back control of the government and to take back control of the media. We have the new Murrows. We have people like Cenk Uygur, Amy Goodman, Tom Hartman. We have good journalists. We just need to watch them, pay attention to them, support them, and ignore Main Street establishment media. We're doing that, slowly but surely. That place of power, that manpower that Murrow spoke of, that wasn't available at the time for a network to be responsible, that place where opinions could be had and really don't need to be monitored, that's the internet. It exists. We here are the overseers of the truth. We monitor those opinions. The power is here. It would be awesome if Murrow was alive today to see the internet, to recognize what we have done. And he would be very, very sad at the state of media, the establishment media today. I think he would be very sad. He was a great man, and yeah, we need more journalists today that think that way, that put integrity before loyalty to the establishment and a paycheck. So I call all establishment journalists now. If you want to be remembered as an actual journalist in history, choose the people now. Because those of you that stick with the establishment will be remembered as establishment stooge journalists. Sorry, not journalists. Establishment propaganda speakers, really. We won a big victory yesterday, folks. It was huge. 3 states, landslide. We have a long way to go, but we don't need to listen to the establishment narrative anymore. We have our own. We're telling our own story right here on the internet. We don't need to listen to the establishment. We know this. So stay strong, Bernie strong. Feel the burn, everybody. I was going to go out with something halfway good. We're going to go out with something fun. I know we've talked about a lot of serious stuff today, and I really appreciate you being here and listening to it. It's time to put the integrity back in America. That's what we're doing. The people have it. We need to bring it back to our elected officials and to our media. All right. I love you all. Feel the burn. And in honor of Edward Murrow, good night and good luck.
Running for the nominee, calling to every opportunity. Bernie, hey now it's your turn. Show them what you got and make them feel better. Trying, the only one who really cares, fighting for us against the billionaires. Bernie, we wanna see a time for America to have a leader. 2016 and our country's a mess. Prisons are filled up and students are in debt. Can't get a job and you don't know what's next. The top 1% takes most of your check. So what now? Who do we call? Who's gonna lead us and make this all go away? Bring us to the new age. And we say Bernie, running for the nominee, calling to every opportunity. Bernie, hey now it's your turn. Show them what you got and make them feel better. Trying, the only one who really cares, fighting for us against the billionaires. Bernie, we wanna see a time for America to have a leader. Bernie Sanders, setting the standard for what the government should tell us when we ask for the answer. We need a chief in command that stays above all the slander and keeps his heart on America like the Star-Spangled Banner. But first, when you're looking at all the policies and you're thinking about what Bernie can do for me, considering that we are living in an oligarchy, Bernie Sanders is restoring our democracy with racial equality, stop police brutality, making colleges and universities tuition free, ending all the influence in government for big money, represent the common man and not just the super wealthy. Raise the minimum wage, fair pay to the younger age, setting the stage for people to engage on election day, giving equal rights to people, leaving in your straight or gay, thinking about the future and what we can do for climate change. So when you're in the voting booth in 2016, forget Donald Trump, Cruz, and even Hillary. There's only one man who's looking out for you and me. So in 2016, vote for Bernie, running for the nominee, calling to every opportunity. Bernie, hey now it's your turn. Show them what you got and make them feel better. Trying, the only one who really cares, fighting for us against the billionaires. Bernie, we wanna see a time for America to have a leader.
Huge.